Today, we're talking about sustain in solo lane. But I'm not talking about this topic alone, I brought an expert with me.
What's going on, guys? My name is fineokay. I'm the professional Smite solo laner for Counterlogic Gaming. I've made a video with DukeSloth in the past, however, today we're going to be talking about sustain in the current meta, especially that in the solo lane. Whether it's about gods, the items themselves, we decided that we should do a dual video on this since it's such an important topic right now, especially in this current meta.
In the context of this duo video, fineokay will be focusing more on the overall whys and hows and talk about the items in general, and I'll be focusing on the numbers and go into some details that aren't mentioned. All of fineokay's links will be down below, so if you want to support him, feel free to do that. Also, before fineokay introduces us a little bit more to the items, I'd like to point out that this wasn't originally planned as such, but this will be a two-part video with part 2 coming out tomorrow. It simply ended up being way too much information for one video, so I figured I'd split it up and you get some more details on the god in the second part.
So let's talk about the items themselves, since no matter who you're playing, you're always going to be able to match the sustain of your opponent since you both can build the same items. I think the 4 most important items in the current meta, sustain-wise, are Gladiator Shield, Stone of Gaia, Warrior's Blessing, and this may seem surprising, but Teleport Glyph. So Gladiator Shield is a good physical defense bridge item that allows you to heal for hitting your abilities. You get 2.5% of your health and mana back for every time you hit an ability. There's also no limit to this, so if you hit all 5 gods, you get 12.5% back, right? So gods that have good AoE abilities are obviously going to benefit more from this item. It's still a good option no matter who you're playing, as a warrior or as an assassin, just because it allows you to trade in lane pretty well, and also the fact that it's just a cheap 1700 physical defense item is pretty good, and it gives you that 10% cooldown. So that's an option right now. However, it's been nerfed a lot since its inception, so it's definitely an option right now. It's not mandatory. However, the next item is you'll see a little bit more of. It's Stone of Gaia. So this has also been nerfed a lot lately, but it's still a very, very viable option. It allows you to infinitely sustain in lane, and if they have a knockup that can proc consistently on you in lane, you're literally going to be full health pretty much no matter what, unless you get ganked, right? So Stone of Gaia is 2250 gold, 400 health, and the thing with both of these items, Gladiator Shield and Stone of Gaia, is their passives work off of your maximum health. So the more health you have, the more health you're going to get back from their sustain. And in this current meta where you're staying out in lane for a long time, you're trading a lot, sometimes you're just farming and staying out of base for 10 minutes, these sustain items are going to help you stay out forever. And if you ever get ganked, you can always just get out of combat, sit in your tower, heal up with these items, and kind of chill. The third item that we're talking about is Warrior's Blessing. So you get sustain for, much like Glad Shield, every time you hit an enemy with an ability or just an auto attack, you actually get 40 health and 40 mana back. And this has a 10-second cooldown on it, right? And it's a starter item. It's basically Mark of Vanguard from last season. So this is a really good sustain item throughout the entire game. Not only because you get the physical protection and magical protection from it once you get it fully stacked, but in solo lane you're constantly hitting each other, right? So you're going to proc that every 10 seconds pretty consistently, and it just allows you to fight back. If the enemy does not go Warrior's Blessing and you go Warrior's Blessing, you're just going to be able to outtrade them just based on your sustain and tankiness from the item. So yeah, and then the fourth thing that I talked about, or I mentioned, was Teleport Glyph, and this might surprise some of you, but I consider this a sustain item because what you're doing with Teleport Glyph is you're usually backing, healing from your fountain, and then teleporting back in, right? So the item itself is not a sustain item, but it's allowing you to sustain and get right back into the thick of things, right? Since, sometimes you're staying out for a long time and, you have 3k gold, but you want to be right back because their blue buff is respawning because there's a 2-minute timer on it now, or because you want to invade their back camps, or, anything like that. Now you can teleport, or you can back, heal all the way up, and then teleport back in. So that's why I consider it a sustain item. And last but not least, I didn't really mention this before, but I still think we should talk about it a little bit, is just Health Chalice. You're buying it every game in solo lane. That's 750 health for the 3 health chalices that you get, and it refills every time you back. That's just infinite health pots for the entire game, basically. If you go this and the enemy doesn't go it, make sure that you're consistently poking them out because they're not going to have the same amount of sustain as you, and if they do buy the same amount of pots, they'll end up having to spend the gold again to get more, whereas you just can refill it for free. So those are the 5 items that I consider the most important sustain items in this meta. We talked about why they're so important because you're staying out in the lane for long periods of time. There's a lot of trading going on right now in solo lane. You're a lot more tanky this season because your starter item gives you tankiness. So that means the health that you're getting back is actually more effective. And not only that, but there's a lot of things spawning on the map consistently, so you're going into the jungle and either looking for fights, you're either just farming up, or you're proxying so that you can look into the jungle because things are respawning so fast. So there's just a lot of things going on, a lot of times where things can go wrong, or you may be getting ganked or poked out in certain situations. So just having that sustain allows you to just be out there pretty much no matter what. And since the map is so big, you don't really want to rotate too often because you'll lose out on a lot of farm. So like I said, you're going to be staying in lane when your opponent is in lane for long amounts of time. So that just allows the sustain to really be super effective.
And on the topic of effective, let us dive a little bit into the effective health segment. Now, the items I will talk about here are by far not the only ones you can use. fineokay will talk more about other item build strategies that can work better depending on the situation later. The items we're looking at right now will be the typical heal effect items that fineokay just mentioned. So we're talking about Warrior's Blessing, Gladiator's Shield, and Stone of Gaia. As always, a little disclaimer, you can't factor in everything in these kind of comparisons. I tried my best to give you a broader overview here. What's really important in the context of these items is that 2 of them scale off your maximum health. So later in the game you may benefit more in one way and less in another. As such, the comparison points I used was level 10 on Kukulkan, level 15 and level 20, without any other items built afterwards. Especially at level 20, you could eventually have more health items as well, but that might not matter as much as you think. Let's just look into the numbers and then you'll see. So at level 10, you will have 1385 health without Stone of Gaia, and with Stone of Gaia it's 1785 health. This goes up all the way. You will have 1795 at 15, 2205 at level 20, and then always 400 more with Stone of Gaia. All of these builds assume that you have Warrior's Blessing, but they assume either Gladiator's Shield or Stone of Gaia along with it. So basically you would build Warrior's Blessing, Boots, and then one of the other 2 items. Warrior's Blessing is the simplest one, it's always a flat 40. However, it can happen every 10 seconds or less than that if you're not looking to trade as much or you don't get the trades in between waves or you go into your jungle. Gladiator's Shield works a little differently. It scales for 2.5%. So at level 10, an ability will heal you for 35. At level 15, it will heal you for 45. And level 20, it will heal you for 55. Keep in mind here that the more abilities you use on an enemy, the more procs you will get, and the more enemies are around, the more procs you will get as well from multiple targets. Stone of Gaia, on the other hand, will, over the course of 10 seconds, heal you for 50 HP 5 plus another 3% of your maximum health, translating to 103 at level 10, 115 at level 15, and 128 at level 20. Keep in mind here that with Stone of Gaia you also have higher base health, which is why this scales up a little bit better. But what you also have to keep in mind here is the effective health. Stone of Gaia does not come with any protections, while Gladiator's Shield comes with 30 physical protection. Sparing you the calculations here and going straight to the results, with Warrior's Blessing your effective health ranges from 65 to 77 depending on your level, as you also get a little bit of physical protection, which increases your effective health or effective self-healing. With the Gladiator's Shield, you start at 66 and go up to 122 at level 20. With Stone of Gaia you start at 168 but only go up to 246. Keep in mind this is only physical effective health though, so in the magical department Stone of Gaia with this extra health would definitely be better. And if you add some extra protection to Stone of Gaia, then the effective health value can also go up drastically again. To very roughly outline this, in earlier stages of the game, Stone of Gaia should give you more healing on most, but not all characters, whereas in later stages, Gladiator's Shield can kinda go almost even though it's cheaper, with how it works, and it would typically take roughly 2 abilities to go even in effective healing. That is only for physical damage dealers though, and again with Gladiator's Shield you have to be constantly in combat. With Stone of Gaia you get healing all the time, which should in almost all situations still outweigh in terms of healing, as you can do that wherever you are on the map.
So a decision that you have to make pretty early on is whether you want to double down on that sustain and go a sustain build path, or whether you want to go into just more health protections and get more effective HP out of your flat heals. And I'll explain both a little bit more. So the first build path is just basically your Glad Shield Stone of Gaia when you're playing a warrior and assassin, or when you're playing a guardian just like a Breastplate Stone of Gaia. But the Stone of Gaia is the real important part. You're just getting a lot more sustain. The problem with this build is that it can get countered by anti-heal pretty easily. So if you see they're building anti-heal, you probably don't want to go into this. But if they're not building anti-heal, this build allows you to stay out on the map indefinitely for an infinite amount of time. It allows you to trade infinitely with the enemy soul laner, especially if they don't go the same build. And just from the advantage you get from building this, you're going to have a lot of kill potential in lane just because you're going to be at higher health than them most of the time. But like I said, it does get countered by anti-heal, so you have to be careful for that. However, the second build path is something you need to go when they're building anti-heal. Also, when your character has a lot of flat heals, because the way it works is if you have flat heals in your kit and you're building more CDR, more protections, and not as much health, the effectiveness of that flat heal is going to be more. It's going to be a more effective health, right? You're using it more often, and it's a bigger percentage of your max HP if you're building less health. So it just becomes more effective, right? That's why you build full CDR and Guan and you don't really build too much health. It just becomes more effective for his heals. DukeSloth can explain that a little bit better. However, like I said, you kind of just decide on the build path based on whether they're building anti-heal or not, especially their soul laner, but of course their jungler too. He's going to be building that brawlers and that kind of thing. The two build paths kind of do different things. You're going to be a little bit more tanky with the second build path because you're just building into those more protections and maybe a little bit more health. However, the first one is actually a really good bridge. It allows you to stay out forever, like I said, and it just allows you to trade forever as well. Another thing about the first build path is that its effectiveness increases with the two items because they're both based off of your max HP, and Stone and Gaia gives you 400 health, right? So because they're both based off your max HP, the 400 health increase is just going to increase the Glad Shield heals that you're getting and also increase the Stone and Gaia passives healings because there's two of them, right? Stone and Gaia has two passives, which is kind of insane. I mean, why does the item have two passives? Any item that has two passives is always going to be like at least a good item. So, yeah.
And on that note, we will end this part. We will dig a little bit deeper into what was mentioned regarding effective health and other items tomorrow. We'll have a bit of a comparison between Gladiator's Shield and Breastplate of Valor, as well as talking about the guard choices for solo, the direct sustain guards and the indirect sustain guards and so on. So with that, thank you guys for watching of this part. fineokay's links will be down below. Please check out his channel. He does a lot of solo content and can help you out with various things in that regard. He will also have his own outro part tomorrow again. Also, feel free to click the sub button and the bell here if you're new to the channel, really helps me out. Other than that, see you for the next one tomorrow. DukeSloth, out.